mean, the understanding of customer segments is kind of an overarching to do journeys mapping, that kind of stuff. But I think the data is obviously kind of key in it as well. Seeing what that really will dictate what the whole approach. If the data is not good enough, then they're going to have to do customer surveys. They're going to have to do much more manual kinds. They still can do it, but it's for me, those are the three pieces.
Welcome to Data Breakthroughs, the podcast where every episode starts with a mystery. My guest and I walk in blind. No clue what the problem is, no idea about the industry, and definitely not here to spend an hour debating tech stack. Instead, we unwrap a real problem from a real person, figure out what's actually going on, vanish for 15 minutes to think on our own, and then return to see if we can crack it live. It is part detective story, part improv challenge, and part let's see what breaks. No scripts, no preps, just curiosity, creativity, and a dash of chaos. Today, my partner in problem solving is the wonderful John. I'm really happy to have you here today. How's it going?
Oh, hi, Leo. Yeah, it's really nice to be on your podcast. So, really looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm going well, mate. How are you?
Good. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure. So, my name's John Cook. I run a data and AI consultancy called Dataception. I've basically been doing that for 5-6 years, but my background is I've been in sort of data and AI for 20 years. Used to do a lot of work in sort of investment banking, risk systems, front office systems, Monte Carlos, all that sort of stuff. Ran a data and AI practice in PwC. Did my first Gen AI project back in 2017 and started really getting into kind of machine learning, that kind of stuff. Left there and went to Databricks. I was there for very early on, ran the solutions architecture team there as well, so did a lot of AI, machine learning and data use cases. And then, I've been running my consultancy, and we've been doing a lot of work around data products, generative AI, data object graphs as well, which we can talk to a little bit about. But, really trying to bring those sort of product thinking and, business process kind of view onto the whole data world. So, lots of exciting stuff doing. So, really nice to be on and great to meet you.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can start with some icebreakers that we have prepared for you. So the first one that we have is, do you think AI secretly judge our messy data sets?
Do they think it secretly judges it?
Of course.
There's nothing secret about AI, is there? It's really interesting that, it judges statistically. So you look at the data sets, it's going to create weights on them. It's going to create some inference on them. It's going to create some second, third order kind of inference and correlations. So it is judging, but not in a way that we judge. There's no morality involved in it. But yes, it's definitely, it finds patterns in it that we don't expect. That way, yes, it definitely does.
So it's not going to block us at some point and tell us, I don't want to work with you anymore. This is not yet there.
Right. Well, if you prompt ChatGPT, I'm sure it will get to that point. Because
the second question we have prepared is, what is the most creative way you ever fixed broken data?
What is the most creative way I ever fixed? That's a great question. So I think a lot of the time is I try and visualize it. I think in pictures. That's just the way my brain works. So I'm not one of these people who can stare at a data set and start seeing the matrix, the red, green, blue type stuff. I need to be able to visualize stuff. So what I always try and do, and when we've got a tool that actually allows us to use AI to actually visualize the entire business process around the data. So understanding what it is, building almost like a digital twin of that data, of the business process that sits behind it, and then running queries on that to be able to do that. So it's really sort of converting it into a language and a lingua franca that I can understand. So we do that all day long. So that to me is probably quite a creative way, I think.
Yeah. I actually also like to visualize it first before I'm starting to solve anything, because I think then it's easier to understand also how things are connected to each other. The last question before we're revealing the problem that we're going to deal with today, do you think dashboards are judges or they are just a way for us to understand better what we're doing worse? And to clarify it, when they judge, it's basically telling us you did very bad job or not, like you go to jail, or is it more just for helping us as a tool?
So it depends what's in the dashboard. I mean, the dashboard's just a vehicle for presenting data in sort of, graph type format, right? So it depends what's in the dashboard. If you've got a bunch of metrics which you validated and it's giving you your performance, is it judging you or is it just displaying the data? If it's got a bunch of metrics which are badly formed and they aren't giving you the real information, then it's good. You take that away. I think the dashboards are, again, they're a vehicle. So what's it really showing you? Most dashboards show you just information. So you take your own interpretation out of that. So I think, getting a dashboard that tells you to do something, and is that thing correct or not, then it's up to you to judge that.
Cool. Thank you very much for the warm-ups.
No
And
worries.
I think this is the time to jump to our dashboard. So let me share my screen quickly. And as mentioned before, I have no clue what is the problem. And we're going to be both surprised.
Yep, looking forward to this.
Okay, so what do we have here? Key questions. We are a small online seed company competing against giants like Kipiken Kirel.
I can't pronounce that.
It's a very complicated name.
I think that looks like Dutch or German to me. But yes,
Yeah, it sounds like German. And
Yeah.
Kippenkerl. And international players like Thompson and Morgan. Our advantage has always been personal expertise and original knowledge, but we are losing customers to competitors who seems to know exactly what customers want before they do. We have 4 years of detailed customers data, but no idea how to turn it into competitive advantage.
It's a
That's an interesting
fantastic problem statement.
I already like it. It's a good start.
Exactly, yeah.
Can we solve it in 15 minutes? I'm not sure. We need to figure this one out. Let's see the situations. They adding here. We sell over 600 varieties of seeds for vegetables, herbs, and flowers to German gardeners. So it's a German company. Our customers range from hobby gardeners on balconies to serious organic farmers. We track everything: purchases, history, seasonal patterns, regional preferences, even weather data from customers' locations. This is one of the things I hate the most, the weather forecasting. I think it's the worst data and the most useless one at the end of the day, but...
Indeed. That's because climate models are notoriously complicated, right, to actually predict, so...
Especially here in Germany, you know that you're going, 20 meters and it's completely different weather than what you had just a second before.
Awesome.
Our founder has 30 years of gardening expertise, but we are still recommending products manually. Makes sense? Trigger: last month, a customer complained that we recommended tomato seeds in December as the reason output, while competitors' website automatically suggested indoors, microgreens, and winter planning guides. We realize big players are using algorithms to personalize experience, while we are stuck sending generic newsletters to everyone. The conversion rate are 2.1% this year. Then tension. We are passionate about helping people grow better gardens, and we have incredible domain knowledge and detailed customers data, but we are a small team with no technical expertise to compete with automated personalization. Meanwhile, our customers expect the same smart recommendation they get from Amazon. We are failing behind despite having better products and expertise. The boundaries: we are a small crew here, just 7 of us keeping the website running. We don't have big data or engineering team. We have here a challenge, I would say.
It's quite a classic one. I've seen this a lot. Obviously the big challenge is obviously the size and the scale and that, but it is I'd say a well-trodden path. It's a very known problem, shall we say, which is good.
Should we try to already discuss the clarity, or do you want to discuss a little bit more the problem to understand it better?
I mean, in my mind, it's quite a clear problem. But understanding your customer journey, understanding your customer buying patterns, understanding personalization, how to get the right recommended product to the right person. Also, being able to the institutional knowledge in there is be able to automate that a bit or capture that in a kind of technical form. Obviously, there's lots of great SME knowledge inside there, it sounds like, but it's trapped inside people's heads. So bringing that out and bringing that into the customer journey, and then being able to actually personalize based on customer segments and buying patterns, and then being able to actually recommend good products in an automated way, but doing it not at scale, because it's a small company, and not having a massive tech spend and AI spend on the back of it. That's how I'm seeing that problem.
I think that one of the things that we need to consider here is that they have manual data, but they have manual newsletters that they send, so we can use it as a base, maybe.
Well, so they've got lots of buying patterns in there. They've got the transactional history, they've got purchase history, they've got seasonal patterns. They've got regional preferences, so they've actually got quite a rich data set there to start a starting point. You say they've got newsletters. There's also, you can augment that with, I don't want to go into solution mode too much, but there's capturing more data, getting surveys from customers. There's some simple stuff that can be done to actually add more data into that. Understanding their customer segmentations. around that. What are the type of gardeners? They've started to do that already. Looks like you've got people with window boxes versus big gardens and that kind of stuff. So they're already starting down that road and just understanding their customer base a bit better. It's the foundations. It look like the foundation. A lot of the foundations are here, which is great. They've got they've got a lot of data. Obviously not big data, but they've got a lot of wide data, if you know what I mean, across different aspects of their customer base. So I think it's really trying to capture that, understanding the personas of their customers, and then being able to actually take the institutional knowledge, wrap that into a personalization, and then some recommendations. And I think that's, the conversion rate's interesting enough and very low. So basically be able to increase the conversion rate, to be able to recommend a product for a particular customer in a much more accurate fashion. And again, it doesn't have to be, all singing or dancing. That to me is kind of the key space we're in, it feels like.
When we think about it, we have 90 days basically, or create some solutions. We want to make it into a time frame. I would try to actually narrow a little bit the 30 statement to basically explain clearer what we are solving here, what is the problem that needs to be solved, and also put some maybe boundaries, limitations from our side on what we're not going to touch.
Yes, on the constraints, yeah. I mean, for me, the key problem is being able to automate recommendations through targeted personalization is conversion.
Should we add anything else?
Well, so using existing data as a base, I think there's some things we can do which is be able to augment that.
Okay.
But this to me is a classic. Let's know your customer a bit better. Use the base data on that, absolutely. But it might need some augmentation against one of the maybe not constraints, but certainly some of the key aspects of this. Have they done surveys around kind of what customers buy? Do they know what, if someone's got a garden box, the types of things can they segment their customers into those kind of areas and then buy that institutional knowledge or capture that institutional knowledge to be able to personalize it? So it's that kind of segmentation problem, I think.
I think then, are we ready to break into our 15 minutes brainstorming?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me start and I see you in 15 minutes then. And we are back. How was the brainstorming session?
Yeah, good. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun getting the creative juices flowing. So yeah, all good.
All of the time I was thinking about it is, I cannot solve it easily with a CSV file here, some extract, and that's it. We are done. I don't know how it was for you, but for me it was a little bit disappointing.
All right. No, I mean, I've already got the workflow built in my head, and if I had my tool up and running, I'd have built it I probably could have built a first version of this entire workflow in the time we did this. So yes, but it was important to get it down the brainstorming area. But yeah, like I said, this is, I say, a well-trodden path. It's something that a lot of people do. Obviously, there are some constraints here that we need to talk about. But yeah, it's a nice problem space and a fairly well understood problem space.
So if you are ready for it, let's jump to your brainstorming.
Sure.
I'm following you.
Yeah, no problem at all. So yeah, fundamentally, this is understanding your customers and being able to recommend products to them that increase the conversion. Fundamental problem. And so I've got a sort of almost like a classic customer journey set of tasks here. Fundamentally understanding the customer segmentation is the first thing. Just what are the key personas? Well, someone's got a window box versus someone who's got a garden. Understanding those customers. Looking at kind of buying patterns. So what type of seeds do they want? Obviously that's segmenting it in terms of there'll be some seeds that work well in those kind of conditions in gardens and that type of stuff. Understand those buying patterns. Create the customer journeys around that. So I mean, they might be quite simple. Someone wants to basically has an existing garden. They want to come in and actually add some new plants to it. Someone has a new garden. They want some ideas. So it's just kind of mapping out some of those kind of key customer buying journeys around that. And again, this is workshop stuff. It's just like coming up with those sort of pieces. Understanding kind of what sort of seeds those particular journeys would want, and obviously then mapping that to the product information. So obviously they've got deep SMEs around that. So it's like, for those window box people, what type of seeds they want to do. Let's capture that in a knowledge base somehow. Something simple. I mean, it could be start with an Excel spreadsheet, or it could be something that's a bit more sophisticated. But some way of capturing that and then mapping that into that journey, into those journeys. So these are the types of products that this type of customer segment particularly wants. So again, it's just understanding that a bit better. And then basically, you want to bring in pricing into that as well. So what you want to be able to do is actually be able to recommend products which are good for the customer, but also good for yourself as well. There might be a range of products which are better prices, better value, that sort of stuff. So you need to sort of add that as a dimension into it. And then ultimately, the quick win, the first one, is to create a simple recommendation engine that actually takes that information, takes the data, and actually then starts producing good quality or good enough quality recommendations for those particular segments. And again, this is something you'd be testing with customers, and ideally through this process you'd have a bunch of friendly customers per those personas and actually test them out and actually be part of that process. Obviously there's an incentive around that, but yeah, the sort of the first quick win would be to create a recommendation engine. Simple one, again, this is simple machine learning, it could be a random forest or something really really sort of basic, that based on the data, based on those journeys, that actually can do those recommendations. And then obviously as you go along, you create continuous learning around those. As more data comes in, it can be retrained once a week, once a day, whatever it is. Again, these are well trodden, well understood kind of problem spaces. That to me is the first quick win. Obviously longer term, personalized website. Map those journeys into a customer buying experience on your website. Don't just be an Amazon shop front where people go in, just say, like, what type are you? And then lead people through that kind of journey. There'll be sophisticated buyers and there'll be kind of more novice buyers. Be much more around, that customer journey to actually encode that into your website, make it much more buying experience, much more experience rather than a purely, shop front piece. Again, this is longer term, and also things like building communities, people be able to upload their pictures, do sort of share stuff, bring that kind of social media kind of aspect into it, gamify it as well, plant competitions, that sort of stuff. But again, that's sort of longer term fundamentally, and obviously the recommendations will come off the back of that. Yeah, obviously there are some, there's some constraints around that. So, you need to understand what quality of their data. If their data quality is really, really bad, that's going to be tricky, right? To be able to do that, you're going to have to encode a lot of that. You're going to have to encode a lot of rules, a lot of SME knowledge in that. Around that, there's going to need to be some sort of data analysis, data science capability around that. And obviously this can't be this is going to be a 12-month, €2 million project. It's got to be something quick and easy and simple to actually lock into their tech stack, but also be able to have good value around there as well. So those are my thoughts.
I think that we are more or less the same way of thinking. I will present mine in a second. I really like the part there where you said, like, sit in a workshop, map everything, because I think sometimes we tend to skip the stages or we're doing it overcomplicated and we're ending up in a quite big chaos.
Yep.
If we're going to go to my brainstorming area, I have few concerns that I already marked. We don't know the quality of the data.
Yep.
This is one big concern that I see it, and it maybe will be very intensive to deep dive inside it and understand what's going on. So a lot of manual work. The other concern I have is there one true source of the data? Where is the data sitting actually, and how do we know that it's the correct one? Presume that there is a website somewhere, some mailing service, and so on. So we need to figure out, I just noticed this is the wrong color. And then from the constraints, as I said, it's a small team. So we don't have the resources, most likely they don't have even the manpower, the professionalism that they need to be able to work with data science modules. This was basically my starting point. And then I said, okay, what can we actually do to simplify it? So this is something that I actually learned last week when I talked to somebody that I really appreciate. He works on some crazy models of AI. And what he said today is you don't need to invest too much in searching for the best model or to bring the best person to build it for you. You can go actually immediately to some LLM model, if it's ChatGPT or Gemini, and ask them, actually, this is my problem, this is my points that I collect about data. How can I what model will be best for me to use? And it can come up with some recommendation. It's not bulletproof, so we tested it a few times together even. In some cases, it was working quite good. Some cases, it was offshooting completely, and it's a lot related to the quality of data and the ability of
just to come on top of that, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think if you're going to go down this path, you need someone in the business who understands the models.
You will need somebody to understand it. You will need somebody, and this is exactly what I said. Like, it's a quick win now just to bring something and try to test it. Rather than jump immediately into building a model, because I think this is one of the biggest mistakes of most companies, jumping and investing
It
now
is. It is. But
a
the actual
lot of
model
money.
bit of this for this would be very quick, be easy. You could probably build the first incarnation of the model, code it up in like half a day. The bit is the bit you've got is the data work fundamentally up in front, which I think you've got in here, right? Understanding the data, and that's the understanding the correlations, understanding the map. You've got quite a wide data set. There's weather patterns, as you said, that kind of stuff. So I would be much more inclined to get a data scientist, or someone doesn't have to be like a world leading data scientist, but someone just understands that, to actually map that, to understand the data and understand the model. So
Completely agree. This is a big solution, a quick solution for them to learn and actually
yeah,
understand what it means, right? Because
yeah,
one of the things that they mentioned here was that they see other companies using recommendation engine, they don't have any knowledge about it. So how do you
yeah.
actually get the knowledge? For me, this was the quickest thing. Go take
Fair enough. Yeah,
something
yeah,
and figure out, and then start working from there.
yeah,
Then basically I'm going to the long-term solution. So this is more create a segmentation for the users and start understanding what it means.
yeah,
Sit in a workshop, understand who are your users, what do you want to serve them, what types of things you have there. It's also create a segmentation for your inventory, so you can
yeah,
make it in an easy way. So it's simplifying the way that we're working.
yeah.
I add here another option for resource. This is optional, but I think it's required. Some technical CRM person who can come and help you set up all of this operation, how to push the data, how to send the emails, when to send them, and all this information. I think this is something that we need to think about it as well as an add-on. It doesn't need to be full-time. It can be also part-time, but at least they have a consultant that can come and give them the support.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I can do when they have the segmentation is to fit it into this model that they have in here and try basically to see how it works, and then decide if they need to go and hire actually a data scientist or not. I think this is the point where they're going to figure out they need a data scientist on board to help them to adjust this model.
Yep.
And as you said, it doesn't need to be a top class. It needs to be somebody who can actually come there, look at the data, figure out how he's creating the right verticals, and ship it and start sending it. And then basically they will need to start setting A/B testing, figure out what is working, what is not working, start optimizing basically the model, fix it, and so on.
Yep.
And I think, to be honest, and I think about it, even the most simplest model right now will give them an advantage over a manual one, where they're basically losing velocity as they go in.
Yeah, it depends on the data, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You could do simple, item type and cross filtering and stuff like that. So yeah, I think you're right. The conversion rate's so low, you wouldn't need to be much of a improvement to actually improve that.
And to be honest, when we're talking about the problem, I think that they are just in the start of the journey to understand what it means to be AI driven, or even what it means to have a machine learning model that can help your users to convert better and give you more income. And I think they need to fall down on the way to understand it and actually measure better their value. And I think this is the component that is missing for them right now, because they don't know what it's worth. They know what they're losing or what they're missing, but they don't really know the value of it.
They do. I mean, obviously, you've gone very sort of data kind of first. I think for me, I'd still recommend them going more kind of understanding the persona first, understanding the customers. I think they're sort of the two ends of the same thing. But that, to me, that's the institutional knowledge, right?
Yeah,
that comes in, But yeah, I think this makes a lot of sense to me.
I like the approach because it's also putting the people first, the customers first, right? So it's bringing this approach of we need to make sure that the customers are being considered in what we are doing. And as what I looked at it is like, this is the right approach to go. They now need to figure out which approach they need to take themselves to actually start exploring. Because the fastest they're going to explore, as I see it, the fastest they're going to learn, they're going to tweak it. And most likely what we have here is just a very nice skeleton for them, but it's going to be a good start. By the way, I didn't mention it. I started here architecture, but then I stopped it because I said, I don't know what tables they have. I don't know what databases they have. I prefer not to touch it. So I didn't touch anything like that. Anything else to add about the brainstorming?
No, like I said, I think you've captured that a lot. I think I'm assuming again, if they're a small company, there's going to have a few systems that that they'll be better extract out and do a lot of analysis on. I don't anticipate it being an integration too much of a problem. I think so. They won't have hundreds of systems. So finding the right data and analyzing it's going to be one of the biggest pieces of work there, I think. But yeah, I think that what you've got there makes a lot of sense.
What are we going to do now? Again, off camera, 2 minutes, adding up to 3 insights, up to 3 actions. And we meet here in 2 minutes. John, we are back. How was it?
All good, all good. I could have spent a bit longer on that, trying to, my typing wasn't working as fast as my brain was working, so that was that was the limiting factor. Indeed.
Would you like to start presenting your 3 insights and 3 actions?
Yeah. So for me, the first one is really, as you talked about, understand the customers and their segments, right? Fundamentally, it's really to trying to, can you segment them? Can you basically come up to different buying patterns and that? Otherwise, if you can't do that, then you're going to be a bit stuck. And obviously, the action of that is to map them out. Go and get in the room. Let's understand our customers. Obviously, this looks like quite a linear process, but it wouldn't be. It would be done again. It's quite similar with the second one, which is about understanding the quality of the data with respect to getting those personas out. So you'd want to basically start mapping those personas, and then does the data support that? Obviously, there's the second action is source and collate. Do the actual data work, and then the third one was obviously then start trying out, testing out, building the recommendation engine, do it with customers, and just testing out simple models. Get used to kind of understanding how to do those kind of models. As you said, you can get ChatGPT to do some initial pieces and describe them, but actually they need to build that institutional knowledge into those fundamentally.
Correct.
So that would be me. Understand, map out the stuff, look at the data, and understand the data to see if it's going to be good enough to get a data-driven solution, because that's going to depend on going to dictate kind of your solution, and then start building and testing and with customers. Those are kind of the three sort of bits. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does very much. For me, if you're going to see it, I'm starting with a lot of text, and then slowly it's becoming linear and linear, so there is less text in there.
Right,
just because of the time.
Yes, exactly what I did.
And what I basically did, so it's very similar to what you said, the first point: understand the model, understand the customers. It's crucial. If the team isn't comfortable with the recommendation engine or the idea of having a recommendation engine, it's going to fail, and they need to start. This should be their starting point. The data quality have a key part in our success. If we don't have data quality, and this is something that we need to keep repeating, because I think sometimes we forget about it and we're ignoring it, but it's super important. If the data quality is not there, we are screwed. Very simple as that.
Well, so I put a slightly different complexion. It changes our approach. I don't think we're screwed. It just changes our approach. You become much more of a kind of heuristic-based approach rather than a machine learning-based approach. You still could do that. There's institutional knowledge, which you could then test with customers and that kind of stuff. But it sends you on a different path, in my mind, rather than...
I agree.
Does that make sense?
It makes totally sense, yeah. And then the first point from my side, this process is long, and it's a long learning process. So they need to understand that when they're starting this, it's not going to end up in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even in a month. This is something that's going to take a very long time to get professional in it, to refine it, to keep working on it. Models also drift at some points. So this is like the 3 insights that I take out of this session today.
But it's a core part of their business, though, right? To me, it's something that's really intrinsic into their business. Any business, understanding your customers, obviously the model is one aspect, but it's actually the byproduct of going through this process is that you get to really understand your customers well.
Agree, and I think that is a key component for any business that want to succeed in nowadays. It's just becoming ruthless out there, and you need to make sure that you have this competitive advantage. From the action points, I wrote them very simple. Get the data into one place, make sure that everything is sitting under one database. We don't know. They didn't specify it, I think, in the details they supplied, if it is there or not. I think this is the first starting point in my eyes. Second action point is set workshop for segmentation. So really, this is what you said before, like sit down as a workshop, figure this one out, create a segmentation. I think this is a great second action point. And then the third one, operate a model and start learning. Start failing, start figuring out, okay, this one working better, this one is not. Let's figure out what's going on. And one thing that I wanted to add here as well is like, you don't need to kill your manual work completely. You can still keep it on the side and decide which user is going to receive still manual letters and communication, because I think it's an important part as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I was a little bit sneaky, and I had an extra point here, which is not action or not insight. It's just something to keep in mind. Hire some consultants to support you. Even if you cannot hire people right now, bring the right people on board that can give you this head start. So they bring the domain knowledge about these topics and can set you up. And I think this is something that is important to remember. You don't need to hire people always. You can also bring people and get this knowledge from them, but you need to define it correctly.
Yeah.
These are my points. We refine basically our brainstorming into 6 insights, 6 actions. Now we need to move down into 3 insights, key insights to take away from this session, and 3 actions to take. Would you like to start with the first key insight?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, again, it comes back to, I think, what we just talked about, this understanding your customer, fundamentally. I think this is something that's really intrinsic. You've obviously got some institutional knowledge there, you've got the SMEs in there, but making, really understanding that customer in a more holistic way, to be able to automate it. For me, I think that's regardless of what they do, I think that's something they need to do.
I completely understand. I completely agree with you on this. So it's moved into the key insights. Build the recommendation engine. I think we both can agree on this as well.
Yep.
And now we are missing one more point. If we want to add one more point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the data piece as well, right? I mean, the understanding of customer segments is kind of an overarching to do journeys mapping, that kind of stuff. But I think the data is obviously kind of key in it as well. Seeing what that really will dictate what the whole approach. If the data is not good enough, then they're going to have to do customer surveys. They're going to have to do much more manual kinds. They still can do it, but it's for me, those are the 3 pieces.
Yep, completely agree. And then with the key actions?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the actions of those, right? So obviously, workshop to map out the customers, do the data analysis, start then basically build a process where they can actually, or execute a process where they can start doing the segmentation and look at the data and do that kind of as almost like an iteration, short, sharp iterations around that. Basically, as you said, build that little, I don't want to call it an operating model because that sounds like a big heavy thing. It isn't. It's just a little process for doing that. Look at the customer segmentation, map out the journey, use the data to drive that.
If you allow me, so I put first collect the data. I think there's the starting point, then map it out. So this is
the 2 things are iterative, but yeah.
And then set a workshop, or do we do already test the?
No, I think you probably need to do the workshop first. I think it's just making sure, because there's also a bit of education in there as well, which we haven't really talked about. We were seeing you talked about a bit. So there's a bit around that, just kind of laying out what the journey is and what the expectation is, and kind of stuff, taking the company along with you as well. So I think that's definitely and that would be a set of workshops describing what the process is, what it's doing, what the value is, all that sort of stuff as well.
It's a proper change of management, I would say, as well.
Yeah, agreed.
A lot of here.
Yeah. Again, we don't want to be too heavy because it sounds like a big, 12 year, whatever. It's not. It's literally just saying this is kind of how you do it. This is what you need to do. This is why the value is. These are the metrics, how you're going to measure it, all this sort of stuff. So it's just cementing it into the way of working, really.
I think that this is actually the first time that we got such a specific problem.
Right.
In this season, so there was a lot of details. We were super lucky here.
You're right, yeah, cool.
And in other sessions, it was a little bit more open, so we need to make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
And here we had quite defined problem. Now it's bringing me to the most important question of this episode. Did we actually manage to get a breakthrough as you see it, or?
I mean, I can see that. As far as I'm concerned, I think we did. We got a clear path for them to actually follow. I think that would be my thoughts. Obviously,
I think that we get some breakthrough. I think that there is still some questions that we need to ask regarding the models and stuff. But I also agree with you. We got a breakthrough. I think there is a good start here. There is actually a nice action plan for the team to start tomorrow if they need to. And maybe next December they're not going to send tomato recommendations anymore, but rather microgreens and what was the other thing that the company recommended? Already forgot. The trigger. Here we go. We realized indoor microgreens and winter planning guides.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. I could probably build a digital twin of this in about an afternoon in our product. Actually go in and actually build the entire process. Because obviously there are segmentation models. There's a bit of a knowledge base you want to capture in there. Some statistical analysis done on that on each of those pieces. So you could probably build a pipeline and say quite quickly on this, and then plug in their data and then show some user interfaces. So you could get something up and running, or at least that whole process supported very, very quickly in 2 or 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Then, John, would you like to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. So obviously dataception.com is my website, is our website. I'm on LinkedIn, quite heavily on LinkedIn.
Thank you, John, for joining. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Any less famous words you would like to tell people?
I mean, this is. Thank you very much for having me on. This is great. I love doing this stuff. This has kind of been my bread and butter for the last 30 years. So, I think So one of the things is we talk about data and AI being kind of technology and this kind of stuff. This is business process, and this is classic a business process problem. We start with a business process kind of mindset, and we use AI and data as the tooling around that. I think they'd be able to actually prototype and do testing and do digital twins around this is really, really, really important. And also, it's not all about LLMs, right? Gen AI gets a lot of headlines, but actually here we've got a very simple AI or machine learning model that can be used to actually give a lot of value. So we always, you've got to think about the right tool for the job, especially in the AI world.
Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lior.
That's a wrap on another Data Breakthroughs session. If you enjoyed watching us tackle this problem, we would love to solve yours next. Head to the link in the show notes to submit your data challenge. You could be featured in an upcoming episode. If you're a data professional who wants to join me in the problem-solving hot seat, there is a guest form too. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next breakthrough. Bye-bye.